Hello friends, good evening. Welcome to Mission Possible by BK, and this is Bharat, a chartered accountant by profession, and we are covering all the three modules of your JAA IIB exam. And in this current video we will continue with the accounts module chapter 5, wherein we discuss the main concept, one more main concept, which is about your trial balance and rectification of errors. A lot of MCQs come especially from this topic called rectification of errors, and we will try to understand what these errors are, how they come, and how do we rectify it, and what is the purpose of trial balance. So before we jump into this, just a quick recap of what we discussed in our last videos. So we have seen about the basics of journal entry, and we have seen the golden rules of accountancy, and then in the next chapter we have seen the bank reconciliation statement. How do we do the bank reconciliation when we start with the cash balance, or how do we do the bank reconciliation when we start with the passbook balance? Both these reconciliations are ideally prepared by the company accountant, and the bank has nothing to do with the reconciliation. Both the methods should give the same answer in terms of BRS. So hope you understood that. So before we jump into this concept called as trial balance, I will just quickly give you some tips or techniques by which you can make the postings of journal entry in a much better manner. So we will just start into it. First, we discussed that any journal entry, we will try to apply the rules of accountancy, which is nothing but your three golden rules. That is, for personal account, there are some rules. For personal account, there is a rule, and for real account, there is a rule, and for nominal account, there is a rule. So the rules are, so personal account, as you know, debit the receiver. So I'm just writing DR, receiver, credit the giver. For real account, what we have seen is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. And for nominal, what we have seen is debit all expenses, credit all income. Okay, this is what we have seen in your rules of accountancy. So apart from this, I also told you that there is something called as your P&L and balance sheet concept. So these rules are generally for those who start, that means for those who are beginners. It gives them a good clarity about how to post a journal entry. Apart from this, there is also one more method which I have been explaining, that is your P&L and balance sheet method. So in your P&L, there is again divided into debit, credit. So you must understand the fact that all the nominal accounts come under your P&L. So all the expenses are debited to your P&L, all the income are credited to your P&L. So next, similarly, we have balance sheet concept. In balance sheet, I already told you there is a liabilities and there is something called as assets. Assets will always have debit balance, liabilities will always have a credit balance. And one more important fact which I told you, that any journal entry which you post generally will have a P&L and balance sheet impact together. If it is not, then generally it won't match. Almost most of the entries that you post will be one side P&L, other side balance sheet. This is the general rule, friends. Always remember that P&L to PL entry is generally not possible until and unless you are doing some reclassification or you have put some wrong entry. That is a different case. But in general, most of your entries will have a balance sheet impact. Take any entry and you can see that it will have a balance sheet impact. That is how you should actually understand the journal entry concept. Okay, now just I will give you 3 to 4 examples of how to post an entry without looking into the concept of your golden rules. We can straight away think in terms of P&L and balance sheet and post an entry. How do we do that? So simple example, even you can solve it. So for example, just take that I have paid, or I have to pay rent. I have to pay rent I have to pay rent of 100 rupees. So I have to pay. That means payable. Now here two concepts, two things come into the picture. One is rent, second thing is payable, isn't it? So now you tell me, what is a rent? Is it an expense or an income? Because we are paying, it is an expense. So simply if it is an expense, then where do we put that? We have to put it in your profit and loss debit, because all expenses are debited. So simply you can put rent 100 in your profit and loss account, and next other thing is payable. So payable means what? We have to pay. That means, is it a liability or an asset, friends? Just tell me, just think and tell me. It is a liability because we have the burden of paying it, isn't it? We have to pay it. It is a liability. And where does your liability come in your balance sheet? It comes on your credit side of balance sheet. So here you have to put rent payable 100. So debit of 100 in expense and credit of 100 in payable. So debit and credit are there for this transaction, and your P&L and balance sheet impact is also there. So this is what I call as a logic. This rule is for the beginners, but once you tend to understand the concept, then this thing will help you much even in your MCQs or exams. This thing will help you to sort it out or to solve the journal entries in an easy manner. One more example, okay? Received or receivable, okay? Commission receivable. So we have done something to someone and we have to get commission, okay? Or else commission received. Just now we have seen payable. Now we will take it as commission received 100. So what is this commission? There are two things. First, commission. Second, received. So what is this commission, friends? It is an income to you, isn't it? It is an income. So simply, where does the income go? It goes into your profit and loss credit side. So you will simply record a commission income of 100 in your P&L. Okay. And this is a credit. So obviously we have to post one debit, isn't it? So now come to asset side. So commission received. That means you have received 100 commission in terms of what? You have received cash, isn't it? 100 rupees cash you have received. For what? Commission. So commission is the income here and cash is the receipt here. So if you receive cash, then cash balances appear on your asset side. So simply your cash balance gets added by another 100. So this entry is nothing but cash debit 100 to commission income 100. So debit is there, credit is there, P&L impact is there, and balance sheet impact is there. Got it? So now your P&L and balance sheet will both tally because the impact is there on both sides, and that is how in general your balance sheet and P&L looks. Everything will have a corresponding impact. So this logic I wanted to explain to you before proceeding into trial balance, friends. Once you are very much strong on the basics of these three rules, please come over that and try to think in terms of a P&L and balance sheet. Think a bit more in terms of a logical manner, and these journal entry concepts become so easy for you. Just now I have explained to you. Take any journal entry, and this is the logic, friends. Any journal entry for any expense, it will be expense debit to payable credit or expense debit to cash. In case you have paid cash, then your cash balances reduces, isn't it? So what is the rule? If your cash balance reduces, you will just credit. That means you will reduce the cash. So any expense will have only two entries, friends. One, the first is expense will always go to your debit side, and on the credit side it can be either cash or payable. It is one and the same, friends. In case you are yet to pay, then it will become your liability. In case you have paid it, then simply you will decrease your cash balances. So debit will always be expense. Credit will only be these two things, friends, either cash or payable. Payable again can be in terms of your creditor name. If they give you a creditor name, instead of payable, you put X account, you put Y account, you put Z account. But ultimately this X, Y, Z, who are they? They are nothing but your creditors. So creditors means credit means liability, so creditors come under your liability side, so payable comes under your liability side. That is how the logical way of thinking you should apply in posting a journal entry, friends. Same is the case with income. Income will always be on your credit side of your profit and loss account. So credit income, this is standard, whereas debit is one thing which changes. It can be either cash. If they have already paid it to you, then you will debit cash, because only if you debit, your cash balance will increase. Or if you are yet to receive, then you will debit receivable. Just like you have credited payable here, same thing you will debit receivable, because you are yet to receive it and it is an asset for you, isn't it? Someone is going to give you money. Isn't that an asset for you? Obviously it is an asset for you, so you will debit your asset and you will call it as a receivable. So this income is constant here. This debit will be either cash or receivable, friends. These are the two simple entries, friends. Any expense or any income, this is the journal entry which you should remember. You know, be it sales, be it purchase, rent, insurance, salaries, wages, commission, telephone, everything. This is the entry, friends. Apart from this, there is nothing in your expense and income entry. Only the name changes. Sometimes they give you the person name. You have to write that person name instead of payable or receivable. If it is in cash, then very much easy. Straight away put it into cash and credit your income. If it is expense, debit your expense and credit cash. That's it. This is the logical way of thinking in terms of P&L and balance sheet. Okay. I hope this is clear to you now. And now I feel that it is better to go into your concept of trial balance. If you still have any doubt, friends, please do not hesitate. I have given the Telegram group link in the description. You can contact me anytime and you can post your doubts anytime. Be it a small doubt, be it a big doubt, it doesn't matter. Please feel free to post your doubts and I will try to explain it in the best possible manner. So I'm just erasing this now and we will move to the concept of trial balance. So trial balance is nothing but the sum of all your ledger balances. So what we have seen in our earlier videos is that there is something called as a journal book, isn't it? Wherein all the entries are posted in a serial manner. And in this journal book, we will be posting a debit entry and a credit entry. And those debit and credit balances are nothing but ledger accounts. For example, if you have received cash or you have paid something, then in your journal book the entry will be salary debit to cash. Okay, so this salary account or this cash account is nothing but your ledger. It is called as ledger. Each individual ledger will have a specific purpose. Salary will have entries only related to salary, rent will have only entries related to rent, and similar is the case with all your other expense and income accounts. So every year, once in every year, this ledger balance is totaled and the balance appearing in this ledger will go to your trial balance. Trial balance is nothing but a simple statement of debit and credit balances. So trial balance will generally look like this, wherein it will have description, it will have debit, it will have credit, and sometimes, instead of debit and credit, they also post the net amount. The basic purpose here is to tally your ledger accounts. Ideally, the balances should be same, debit and credit. 100 here means 100 here. And if you go on net basis, then in general it is a 0, because your trial balance should always net out. There should not be any balance. If there is any balance, that means you are posting a wrong entry, and then comes the concept of rectification of error. So all these ledger balances which we are seeing here, in the end it will be moved to trial balance. For example, you just think salary account, we have posted 12 months salary account entry. So salary account will have a debit of 12 months salary. Okay, that means assume 1000 each month. So 12,000 is your ledger balance at the end of year. Assuming 31/3/2021, salary account, there has been a 12,000 rupees debit. So this 12,000 will be carried to your trial balance. So there will be a heading for each and every ledger account, and this salary account will be carried here in terms of 12,000. Similarly, you will have rent. Similarly, you will have sales. Every account, be it a profit and loss account or a balance sheet account, it will have a balance at the end of every year. So this amount will be put here, and this total of debit and credit should match. The main purpose of TB is to tally your debit and credit balances and to ensure that the arithmetical accuracy is maintained. So now just we'll see the theoretical part of this. So what I have explained now is given here in theory. The main purpose of trial balance is to match the arithmetical accuracy. Because we follow a double entry system, there will be a debit and credit for every entry, and then we have something called as journal, and then we have something called as ledger. Ledger is nothing but the total of all the ledger balances which generally appears in your general book. So the main purpose of a trial balance is to make a list of debit and credit balance and is to establish the arithmetical accuracy. This is the most important point. In general, trial balance is only prepared to establish this, and it is prepared at the end of the year. But nowadays, because ERP has come, every day we can prepare a trial balance. Once upon a time when I used to do the audit, mostly I think around 10-15 years when I was a student, at that time it was all physical only, and huge journal books used to be maintained. So we have to check the journal book, we have to check the ledgers, and then we have to prepare the trial balance. But nowadays it has become so simple that just with a click of a button you can get a trial balance, P&L, balance sheet and everything. So this is the purpose of your trial balance, and the other things are not so important. So we will just move to the next part. So there are two types of trial balance. One is your gross trial balance, another is your net trial balance. That is what I have just explained to you here. Gross means they will just mention both the debit and credit, whereas in net trial balance only the net column will come. That means if there is a 12,000 entry in salary and 1,000 entry credit, then the net amount of 11,000 will come. In case you are following the net method, then the total should ideally be 0, because debit and credit both are coming together. Okay, hope you understood that. So that is what has been explained here. Here he has given just an example of how we should actually, prepare the trial balance both in terms of gross as well as a net method. You can just see this here. Okay, I will just explain to you here itself. This is the gross trial balance. Both debit and credit are mentioned. Okay, capital, there is a debit amount, there is a credit amount. Drawings, there is a debit amount. Stock, there is a debit amount. Purchases, purchase returns, sales returns, everything. Whatever is the ending balance in the ledger, it will be just brought forward here, and if you see the total, both should tally. The debit and credit should be the same. Whereas in net trial balance, what happens is, in general, they try to bring the net amount only. That is what they generally try to do. That means here, if you see drawings, both debit and credit have been mentioned here. Whereas in your net trial balance, only the net, that means this 10,000 and 135,000 are knocked off against each other. So once 10,000 is deducted from here, there will be only a credit balance of 1,25,000. So that is what coming under your net to trial balance. Both methods can be followed, friends. It is not mandatory that you should follow this method or that method. It is just the sake of your convenience. You can follow any method, and this trial balance is nothing but carry forward your ledger balances to your trial balance. That is the main purpose of this, friends. Okay. Now comes the important part. So there will be situations when your debit and credit won't agree. That means the total of debit will be different from your credit. Why that happens? Because there has been some error. Why that error has happened? This error has happened either due to a clerical error, first thing, or due to a principal error. So what is this clerical and principal error? We will just deep dive into it. So clerical error again are divided into three types. One is your errors of omission, errors of commission, and compensating errors. We will cover one by one. Okay. So this comes under your clerical errors. Errors of omission. The name itself suggests that a transaction is not recorded in the books of accounts. This omission can be again of two types, partial or complete. Partial errors may happen when one transaction is entered in a subsidiary book but not posted to the ledger. For example, you can see cash has been paid to the suppliers, has been entered in the payment side of the cash book, but it is not entered on the debit side of the supplier's account. This is an omission. Omission can be partial or complete. Here what happens, complete omission is straight away understood. We receive various invoices every day. Some of the invoice, by chance it gets misplaced, or some invoice gets thrown away. thinking that it is a waste paper. So in such cases, what happens? The entire entry itself is omitted, complete omission. In that cases, your trial balance will tally because you don't post the entry at all, isn't it? So where comes the question of a mistake? So complete omission will happen when the transaction is completely omitted from the books of accounts. So when it is completely omitted, then there is no disagreement in your trial balance, friends, because the entry itself is not posted. Then where comes the question of trial debit and credit not matching? So obviously it will match because the entry is not posted. Problem comes only in these case of issues, partial errors. That means only one side of the entry is posted and the other side is not posted. In such cases, there will be a difference, isn't it? For example, you paid cash to someone, you reduced your cash balance, but you didn't reduce the balance of the person to whom you have to pay. That means you didn't reduce the payable balance. So obviously what will happen? The payable balance will still show a wrong figure and your amounts won't tally, isn't it? So that is what your errors of omission does. So I'll just erase this and tell you. So what happens in your trial balance, or what happens in your general entry when you pay to someone? What happens? Your payable gets debited and cash gets credited. That means cash is going out, you are paying someone 100 and payable has to be debited, because in your earlier, just rewind few seconds ago, what I told, payable is a liability. So when you are liable to pay something, it is a liability and liability has a credit balance. So you would have shown this as 100 credit balance. When you are making this payment, you have to knock it off, isn't it? How do we knock it off? You debit this payable and then only your payable balance gets knocked off, isn't it? If you still don't understand, I will again explain from the beginning, friends. Don't just get confused. So simply you just understand the fact that we have purchased something from someone, okay? So what is the entry that you will post? Think in terms of P&L. Purchase is a expense, so debit. Purchase debit 100 and we have to pay to someone. So what is the entry that you pay? The entry that you post, we have to pay. That means it is a liability. Liability has a credit balance. So payable credit balance of 100. Okay, this is the entry. Now second point, when you pay, actually, obviously when you purchase something you have to pay. Maybe you get some credit term of 30 days, 60 days, but when you pay, what is the entry that you post? The entry that you post is cash going out. So cash is getting reduced 100. And now what is the debit that you do? We are paying something, we are paying someone, so we are reducing our liability, isn't it? We are reducing our liability means the credit has to become debit, isn't it? Then only this 100 will get knocked off. If you don't debit this 100, then your balance sheet will still show that you have payable of 100 rupees, which is not true, isn't it? Once you pay someone some amount, then there should not be any payable in your balance sheet. It should be knocked off. Simply take the example of your personal life. If you have to pay someone some money, once you pay it, your liability is knocked off. You need not pay someone again, isn't it? Same is the case with your company accounts. Because now you have paid an amount of 100, you have reduced your cash and you have to nullify your payable account also. So simply you will post a opposite entry of this. You will post a opposite entry of this. Payable debit 100. So this credit of payable 100 and this debit of 100 gets knocked off. That means you no longer have a payable liability. You are free of your liability. Your burden is free. Your balance sheet will not show any more liability. So the end result is only your purchase debit of 100 and the cash amount paid, which is of 100. So this is the net effect. Okay. Now this only goes into your trial balance. In your trial balance, this purchase of 100 is shown as debit and cash is shown as 100. So that is what goes into your trial balance. Assuming that this is the only entry in that entire year, you will show that purchase has a debit of 100 and cash has a credit of 100. So now your trial balance is matching, isn't it? 100 and 100, assuming that there are no other transactions. But what happens here is sometimes they post the wrong entry. If this entire entry is not posted, no headache at all. But if they post the wrong entry, that means partial error. That means one side is correct, but the other side is not correct. That means what he did here was, while posting this journal entry, he didn't give a debit of payable to 100. Instead, he straight away reduced the cash balances. So what happens here? So here, if he doesn't pass this entry, what happens, friends? Your trial balance will not tally because your payable will still show credit of 100. Okay, because you have not set this off and you have only shown cash as 100. So both of this will come as credit balances. So this is a total of wrong entry which happens. So hope you understood, because this entry is being set off. The net is purchase and cash. If we don't post this entry, then what would have happened? So already there would have been a payable balance of 100, isn't it? Payable of 100 will be there. So this becomes 200. Only if you post this payable debit of 100, that debit will come here, and then this 200, that 200 will tally. Now here, if he doesn't post this debit, that means only the cash is reduced, but the debit balance is not posted, then this will show as 200 and this will show as 100. Both debit and credit not matched. That means there is some error. So this is the effect of something called as partial error. Partial error means posting one side of the entry correct and forgetting to post the other side of the entry. This generally happens when you are maintaining a manual books of accounts, but in ERP systems this thing is not possible because all the journal entries are posted by the system itself and it gets automatically affected. Only during manual posting of entries these type of clerical mistakes happen. So hope you understood now the meaning of a partial error. Next comes to errors of commission. When a transaction is entered in the books of accounts wrongly, this may be entered as partially or incorrectly. These are known as errors of commission. So this generally happens mainly relating to the following three things: posting of correct amount but on the wrong side, posting of a wrong amount but on the correct side, posting a wrong amount on the wrong side. All these three are called as commission errors, because here there is no partial omission. You post the entry correctly, but the ledger accounts are wrong, or maybe you posted the wrong amount, or you posted it on the wrong side of the account. That means instead of debit you posted credit, instead of credit you posted debit. So these type of errors are called as errors of commission. In errors of omission you omit an entry, whereas in errors of commission you post an entry but post in the wrong manner. Either in the amounts it is wrong or in the accounts it is wrong. Both of them come under errors of commission. Instead of purchase, you posted as sales. Instead of sales, you posted as purchase. So these kind of errors are called as errors of commission. Hope this is clear. Next is compensating errors. Compensating errors are those errors which compensate themselves in the net results of business. This means if there are over debit in one account, which will be compensated over credit in some other account. These errors generally will not affect your trial balance, because in compensating error what happens is, I have posted an excess debit in purchase. Similarly, I would have posted an excess credit in sales. So both debit and credit will match. So the debit and credit will match, and then hence there will be no error in your trial balance total. But actually there is an error because you posted an wrong amount entry. So what happens in these type of cases now? The debit and credit both will match, but there will be something wrong in the amount. This will compensate each other. So that is the heading of this error called compensating error. That means the totals will match because both sides it is a wrong amount. Debit will be wrong, credit will be wrong, but because both sides it is a wrong amount, the totals will match. So these kind of errors which compensate each other are called as compensating errors. Next is something which called as errors of principle. Errors of principle generally occurs when there is a mistake in your principal application of the accounting rule. That means, I will explain this here again in terms of an example. So you purchased an asset, okay? Asset purchased for 1,000 rupees. So what is the entry that you will pass? If it is an asset, asset comes under what? Asset comes under your asset category in balance sheet. So it will have a debit balance. So asset we will debit, correct? Asset we will debit 100 and we have to pay to someone. So what we will simply put? We will simply put as payable 1000 because we have to pay. We purchased an asset but I told him that I will pay him sometime later. So payable is a liability. So liability means credit side of your balance sheet. Okay. So this is the general entry which you should post when purchasing a fixed asset. But what happens here in errors of principle, asset has to be always posted in balance sheet. Why? Because it is not an expense. So this distinction I already explained to you in my earlier videos. Expense and asset are both different things. Asset is something the benefit of which comes to you for more than 1 year. Whereas expense is something the benefit of which comes to you in general for a period of 1 or less than 1 year. So if you incur an expense, then generally you have to post it to your P&L account. Okay, whereas if you purchase an asset, plant and machinery, building, it has to go to your balance sheet asset account. Okay, so that is the general ideology and general rule. But sometimes accountants get confused. Instead of posting an asset, the same entry, what they would have done, they would have posted as expense debit 1000 to payable credit 1000. So this side is correct, but this side is wrong. Instead of debiting an asset balance sheet, the accountant has debited profit and loss account. So there is a principle error here because he didn't follow the basic principles of accountancy, isn't it? So that's why we have to make a distinction between which should be posted to P&L and which should be posted to asset. And the rule in general is this, friends. You know, any benefit of which you get for more than 1 year is an asset, and if it is less than 1 year or 1 year, it is a P&L item. Example, rent, salary, all these are for a period of 1 year only. You don't pay future salaries now, right? Isn't it? So that's why all these come under expense, whereas your plant and machinery, building, cash, everything gives benefit to you for more than 1 year, so it comes under your balance sheet concept. So now hope you understood the distinction between balance sheet and profit and loss first of all. Okay, now we will move to this concept again. So this error of principle happens when you follow the wrong accounting methodology. There can be many types of errors of principle. I've just told you one, between capital and revenue, at the same time between business expenses and personal expenses. Actually, personal expenses should not be posted to your company's accounts. Sometimes the owner gives the personal expense and asks the accountant to post it. This should not be done. So if he posts it, then it is a wrong because it is not a company's valid expense, isn't it? A owner's personal expense should not be posted in company's books of accounts. So this is also against the principle of accounting. Same is the case when you post between productive expense and non-productive expenses. This also happens sometimes, when you just confused between productive and non-productive expenses. This can be taken like, there can be a lot of examples like this. The production related expenses should go to your production only, but sometimes they post it in admin expenses. So this is also against the basic rule of accounting. Any respective expense or income should go to that head only. If it is sales, it should go to sales only. You can't simply say that other income. Instead of sales income, if you put in other income, your balance sheet will match, but your heading is wrong, isn't it? You are wrongly showing other income instead of sales income. So this is against the principle of accounting. So anything which is against the principle of accounting comes under your principal errors. So far we have seen all the different types of errors. Clerical errors, in clerical errors, credit omission errors, commission and compensating, and then we have seen errors of principle. Hope this concept is cleared. So now you understood, okay, why errors come, because this topic heading was rectification of errors. Because matching a trial balance is at most necessary, but sometimes it doesn't happen because of these errors. Wrong posting of amounts, wrong posting into different accounts, posting of excess or posting of lesser amounts, all these result into non-tallying of the trial balance. So that is the reason rectification of errors come into the picture. So now again in rectification of errors, there are two concepts. One is one-sided errors. Another is two-sided errors. In one-sided errors, the name itself suggests that one side of your journal entry is correct, whereas the other side of your journal entry is wrong. That is when your one-sided error occurs. Whereas in two-sided errors both the sides of the journal entry are wrong. That means in general, if you purchase debit to payable credit, okay? Instead of this, what he does is payable debit and purchase credit he will put. So both the credit as well as the debit is wrong. So this is called as a two-sided error. Two-sided error will not lead to difference in your trial balance because debit and credit will match. But this one-sided error will generally result in your difference in trial balance, because in one-sided error just now we have seen, the accountant omitted to post an entry in the purchase. So what happens? Obviously your trial balance won't tally. Only one side of your account is correct whereas the other side is not correct. So these kind of errors, one-sided errors, are generally sorted out with the help of an account called as suspense account. Generally when they total the trial balance, they will find out that the debit and credit is not matching. That means 1000 rupees in debit or 1000 rupees in credit is not matching. So in order to sort that out, they will take help of an account called as suspense account and post it and match it. So now I will tell you a few examples of one-sided errors and how do we take the help of a suspense account in those cases. Okay. So here he has given examples of some errors which happen. Now we need to identify which of them are one-sided errors and which of them are two-sided errors. Remember friends, one-sided errors only should be used with the help of a suspense account. In two-sided errors, you know that both sides of the entry are wrong. So you just need to reverse that and post the correct entry, isn't it? No need to have a suspense account. Only in one-sided errors, we need to take suspense account because we do not know where the error happened. So that is why only suspense account should be used only for one-sided errors. I am repeating this, only for one-sided errors suspense account has to be used, because in one-sided error one side of the entry is correct whereas the other side is not correct. As we are not in a position to identify which side of the entry is not correct, that means what amount it is, we take help of a suspense account. Whereas in a two-sided error, both debit and credit are wrong. So what happens is the trial balance will tally. Only your ledger accounts are not posted correctly. That means instead of purchase posted to some other account, expense account, instead of rent you posted to salary. So in these cases your trial balance will tally, but only your ledger accounts are posted wrong. So you just need to reverse the wrong entry and post the correct entry. So no need of a suspense account in two-sided errors. Only one-sided errors we need to take the help of a suspense account, because only one side of the account or one side of the journal entry has been posted wrongly. Okay, I will just start with a basic simple example first and then we will solve this example and close this chapter. So first, just a simple example we will start. So the issue here is that, sales book was maybe undercast by 100. This could be the question. Okay. Sales was undercast by 100 rupees. Okay. So that means sales had been underposted by 100 rupees. So what happens in your trial balance? In your trial balance, what happens, or in your sales account, what happens? So instead of 1000 rupees, only 900 has been posted. So what you need to do? You need to add your sales account, isn't it? So there is a difference of 100 which you need to add in your sales account. So in order to add this, what you do? Sales has to be added. Sales is an income. So as per profit and loss concept, income means credit balance. You will add 100. So because this error has been one-sided, so what will happen? On the other side, you will simply put suspense account 100 debit and close this. Okay. Why you do this? Because in your trial balance, there will be a difference. Okay. When in your trial balance, when you take the trial balance of debit and credit, okay, one side will be showing 1000, another side will be showing 900 because you have undercast your sales. So what they generally do, is that they put suspense account as one entry and they put 100 here, and it becomes now 1000, isn't it? This becomes 1000 and this is 1000, but this is only till you find the wrong entry. But once you know where the error has happened, this suspense should not still remain in the trial balance, isn't it? It has to get knocked off. So this credit which you have temporarily put will go into the debit side, and this 100 will get knocked off, and your sales balance will also be increased by 100. So that is how will actually sort your trial balance, isn't it? Once this 100 goes out, obviously your sales 100 actual entry will come, isn't it? So 1000 your trial balance will match. So that is the purpose of a one-sided error rectification using suspense account. Hope you understood this concept, because I have explained this in the most simple manner. Same is the case with purchase also. In case you have short purchased or you have not posted one entry correctly, then this kind of suspense account can be used. And in general, any kind of difference, if it is there on the debit or credit, immediately they post it to suspense, and later when they identify the actual error, they just knock the suspense account off. Okay, and one-sided errors are, that's why very dangerous, because it doesn't become so easy to identify where the error has happened. Instead of 9000 they put 900, so you don't know where the error has happened at all. You have to go through each and every invoice, each and every ledger of the sales folio, and then only you can understand where the error has happened. Same case, just take the same example of sales, and instead of, what happens is when you do a sales, what happens? So sales credit and your receivables debit, isn't it? So receivables debit to sales credit, assuming that we are not yet paid the amount, we have not yet received the amount. Okay, so 9000 here, but here what happens? They omit 10, they only post 900. So what happens? Your debit and credit, what happens again here? So take a TB, debit balance, credit balance. Your debit shows 900 and your credit shows 9000, isn't it? So what is that you need to do now? There is a shortage of how much? 8100 on the debit side. Because you are yet to identify, you simply say suspense and match your trial balance. You just say 9k here, 9k here. So when you find out the actual error, what you have to do? You have to increase your receivable balance, isn't it? So again, you post a receivable entry of 8100 debit, and credit you have to do this suspense account, because you have already posted a debit of 8100 here. Now because you have identified that, you have to knock this off, because this is on the debit side. Now you will simply credit, and this both gets knocked off, and your receivable comes into your trial balance as 8100. Okay, this is the reason why one-sided errors are dangerous, because you generally cannot find these errors so easily until and unless you do a thorough audit of the accounts. So once you do that, then you can find out this error and you can knock off the suspense account. So these one-sided errors can be solved only by taking help of a suspense account for the time being. It is a temporary account, friends. Eventually it should become zero. You should not have any suspense account in your final audited financial statements. Hope this concept was clear. Now we will take a practical example here and close this chapter. So what here he is trying to say is that there is a question given. We just need to identify which entry should be taken to suspense and which entry should not be taken. Okay. So the first question here, amount paid for the installation of the machinery 10,000 was posted to repairs and maintenance. Is it a suspense account or a one-sided error, friends? Just think logically and tell. It is not a one-sided error. It is an error of principle, because error of commission also you can take it, because they have posted it to the wrong account. That means actually ideally as per accounting principles, they have to post it to the asset account only, friends. Because what I told you, when purchasing, what is the cost that we should record in the books? Remember the cost concept which I explained in the second chapter. When we purchase an asset or when we purchase something, the cost of it will be the actual cost that you pay for that, plus the additional charges that you incur to bring that asset into motion or bring that asset into commission. That means when you purchase an asset, the asset cost is 10,000. The freight charges, that means the transportation charges is 500. The installation charges is 500. So total 11,000 will be your asset cost. But instead of 11,000, what this guy has done here, what this accountant has done here, he didn't add it to the cost of the machinery. Instead, he put it in expense account, which is a wrong thing. Here there is no one-sided error. Hope you understand that. One-sided error happens only when there is a mistake in one side of the journal entry. Here the full journal entry, he has posted it to the wrong account. So what is that you need to do now? Simply you need to correct this entry. So how do you correct? Repairs and maintenance credit and machinery debit. So how this entry came is what I will explain to you now. So what is the actual entry that should be posted? We have to debit the machinery cost for 1,000, isn't it? That means it should be added to your fixed cost. So we are simply adding that 10,000 rupees here. And what will be the credit? What will be the credit? Credit will be the repairs and maintenance. Because he wrongly charged it to repairs, we have to reverse that now. What this guy has done, initially he posted an entry repairs debit to cash. That means he paid 10,000 and charged it to expense, whereas it should be charged to machinery, your fixed account. So because it was debited wrongly, now we have to reverse this. So if we have to reverse, what we should do? We should simply put an opposite side entry. We should simply credit this. So 10,000 we are crediting it, and we are adding the cost of machinery by 10,000, because any asset will have debit balance. So if we are purchasing something, it should be added, it should be debited. 1,000 will be your cost, 500 will be your installation, 500 will be your transportation. Everything together will be debited to your cost of your fixed asset or plant and machinery. Hope you understood this concept. First, we need to identify the wrong entry which that guy has posted. And in this, one side is correct, only the other side, that means only the account was wrongly posted, whereas the total entry is correct. This 10,000 is also correct, this 10,000 is also correct. The trial balance will also match, isn't it? Both sides 10,000, obviously it is going to match. So there is no question of one-sided error here if the balances match. If the balances match, it means there is an error of either principal or error of commission. So because this guy has wrongly charged to a wrong account, we just need to reverse this and post it to the correct account. So repairs was debited earlier. We have to reverse this. That means we have to credit this, and we have to actually debit it to the correct account. The correct account is your fixed asset, which has a debit balance, and that should be 10,000 debit machinery account. Hope you understood this. Next entry will be, next issue that he has told here is total of purchase book was not posted to the ledger. Here you can see that something is wrong in terms of one-sided issue. Just like what I have told you some time ago. What I told you, in TB there is debit, there is credit. So what has happened, assuming that everything is correct, okay? So assuming that everything is correct, 1 lakh here, 1 lakh here should be the balance. Now what he has told that 50,000 was not posted to the ledger. 50,000 was not posted to the ledger. So that means what happens in purchase is what? Purchase is what? Purchase is your expense. Purchase is expense. Expense means debit balance. So 50,000 was not posted. That means here there is 1 lakh. Here instead of 1 lakh minus 50,000. That means 50k was not posted. So here there will be only 50k. Now you see the total. Is it matching? No, it is not matching. So is this a one-sided error? Yes, a one-sided error, because the trial balance total is not matching. So now we have to correct this using a suspense account. So what is that? You will do it. So simply you will debit your purchase by another 50, isn't it? So initially, immediately, whenever you are not able to find an error, what you will do? You will post an entry of 50 for the time being, and you make it 1 lakh and 1 lakh and close it. And after you do the entire thorough audit, you find that purchase has not been debited. So what is the entry that you pass? So you pass the actual entry of purchase debit 50k, Credit to which account you will give? Credit you will give to suspense account, because you have already taken help of this temporary account and debited. Now in order to reverse this, what you will do? You will simply need to put 50k here, then only it will match, isn't it? Then only this and this will get knocked off. So 50k you will put on the credit side, and this suspense account becomes 0, and this actual purchase debit comes again on your debit side as 50k. Okay, now your balance will have 1.5 L on this side and 1.5 L on this side, and it is matching. Hope you understood. Whenever something like this happens, immediately you post the balancing difference to suspense account, be it on the debit side or credit side. You just need to think it logically, then only you will be able to understand this. That's why I gave you the concept of P&L and balance sheet today, so that instead of going to the accountancy rules, you can straight away think in terms of TB and profit and loss account. Okay. So this is how you need to rectify a one-sided error. So next question we will see. Please try to solve this on your own, then only you will be able to get this. Goods returned to John were recorded in sales book. Goods returned to John. Goods purchase. Goods returned. That means purchase returns, isn't it? Goods returned means we are returning the goods. We are returning the goods to John. That means we have purchased something and we are returning it back to someone for an amount of 3000. So the correct entry, what should be the correct entry? When we are purchasing something, what should be the entry? When we are purchasing something, it has a debit balance, isn't it? Purchase is an expense. Similarly, when we are returning something, when there is a purchase return, what is it? It is just the opposite, because we are returning something means he will obviously give back the money, isn't it? So what should be the correct entry now? So purchase return should be credited. Purchase returns should be credited with 3000 amount. And what is he saying? He's saying that instead of purchase returns, it was wrongly recorded in sales book. That means he credited the sales instead of purchase returns. So sales has a credit balance, isn't it? Sales has a credit balance. Instead of purchase returns credit, he put into sales credit. So now what we should do? Simply we have to reverse this. We have to reverse this. Sales debit 3000 to purchase returns 3000. Okay. Purchase returns 3000. Hope you understood this concept. You first think the right entry, then think the wrong entry, and then to try to set off this both. That is how you can match this rectification of error concept. Okay. In this case, purchase return has a credit balance. Similarly, when you purchase, what is the entry? Just quickly, purchase to payable. Okay. When you return that, what will happen? Payable debit becomes an purchase return, isn't it? We just have to reverse this. That's it. Because we are returning the goods, we will reduce our liability. We are just debiting this payable. So this should be the correct entry. So instead of purchase returns, what has happened here? He has credited sales. He has used sales account instead of purchase return. So he has credited sales account. So now in order to rectify that, we will debit sales, and the actual should be to purchase returns credit. So purchase returns credit. Okay. Next, salary paid to Ram was debited to his personal account. Salary paid to Ram was debited to his personal account. It should not be debited to his personal account. Salary generally should be debited to salary account. So that is what we have to do here. Whenever we pay a salary, what is the entry, friends? Quickly, what is the entry? Salary is an expense. So salary is an expense. Expense comes under your P&L. P&L expense means debit balance. So what is the correct entry? Salary debit 6,000 to, this is the correct, I'm just first telling the correct entry, to cash, assuming that you have paid that amount. Okay, 6,000. This should be the correct entry. Now what he has done, instead of debiting to salary, it was debited to Ram's personal account. That means to the person whom he paid. So this is the right entry. The wrong entry which he passed was Ram debit to cash credit 6,000 6,000. This is the wrong entry. So now cash is correct, isn't it? Cash is correct. The debit side is wrong. So what you have to do now? What you have to do? So this RAM we have to credit. Correct, isn't it, friends? And salary we have to debit. So because this is the wrong entry, actual entry should be this, which was not posted. This was actually posted. RAM should not be there. Salary should be there. So RAM is debit. So we have to simply credit RAM 6,000 and debit salary 6,000. So if you do this, what happens? This RAM 6,000 debit and RAM 6,000 gets knocked off and your salary will come into the picture. Salary to cash becomes your net entry, which is the correct entry, salary to cash. Okay. So this is the right entry which should have been posted. This is the wrong entry which was posted. So we just need to reverse this RAM to salary. As RAM is already having a debit, now we just need to credit him so that this 6,000 and this 6,000 gets knocked off and actual salary we have to post 6,000 debit. Hope you understood. This is the correct way to actually do. First identify the right entry, then wrong entry, then you make the adjustment. The last point is depreciation written off on furniture was not posted. So that is the point here. Not posted. Not posted means obviously one side of an account will get affected because the depreciation was posted, but what happened here is the depreciation was not posted to the furniture account. That means depreciation was posted, but to the furniture account it was not affected. So how do we do this? What is the correct entry for depreciation? First we will start with that. So what is depreciation? Depreciation is an expense. So it will come to your P&L account. Expense P&L account, debit. Correct. So what is the correct entry? Depreciation debit 500 and credit will generally go to your fixed asset account, or you can even say accumulated depreciation. There is a separate account for depreciation. So what happens in this depreciation, friends, we will just learn that at a later stage, but for now you can just, depreciation is nothing but reducing the value of a fixed asset over a period of time. So every year, if 1,000 is the value of fixed asset and depreciation is 100 rupees, every year 100 rupees will get reduced from your fixed asset account, and then again next year 100 will get reduced, so 800, again 100 will get reduced, 700. So every year expense of 100 will be debited to your profit and loss account and 100 will be actually reduced from your fixed asset account. So we can even say credit fixed asset account, and or we can even say accumulated depreciation. There is generally a separate account for depreciation which they call as accumulated depreciation, which is part of your fixed asset only. It's get reduced from your fixed asset because it is a credit balance and assets have debit balance. That means amount will get reduced. So this should be the actual entry. This should be the actual entry which should have been posted. This should be the right entry. But what happened is wrong entry. That means one side of the account was omitted. So accumulated depreciation to furniture account, or this is what I told you. You can even post as asset account, or you can say furniture. It is one and the same, friends. You can even credit your asset or you can credit accumulated depreciation. All are part of asset only. All are part of your fixed asset only. To make it much more simpler, I think it is better that I just put it as furniture account only so that you don't get confused. Just a minute, friends. So I will just put it as furniture only. Furniture credit, it should be 500 because we have to reduce the value of the asset. We have to credit it because asset has a debit balance. If we have to reduce it, we have to credit it. Debit is positive and credit is negative. So this should be the right entry, friends. This should be the right entry. What that guy did was the furniture credit account was not posted. That means this part of the entry was posted, whereas furniture account was not posted. So if you look at a trial balance, immediately draw a trial balance because this is a one-sided error. If you take the trial balance, debit, credit, so one side of the entry was not posted. That means here there is 500. Here it was not posted at all. Here it is 0. So immediately what you will do? Immediately to tally, you will put suspense account 500 on the credit side and you will tally this, isn't it? Then only both debit and credit will match. Now after you identified the fact that furniture credit was not posted, what is the entry that you should pass? Immediately you should pass it to furniture account, isn't it? So this entry was not posted. Okay, only this was posted. This was not posted at all. So now we have to take help of this suspense account and we have to post this entry. So furniture credit 500, suspense debit 500. Why suspense debit? Because immediately when there was a difference on the credit side, we put 500 on the credit side, isn't it? Then only your TB is matching. Now if we have to knock this suspense off, then we have to put an entry here, right? So that's why we are debiting suspense. So this 500 and this 500 gets knocked off. And this furniture actual credit will come here as 500. So now if you see the total, it will come 1000 here and 1000 here. So your TB is matching. So please remember friends, for double-sided error, there will be a wrong entry, there will be a right entry, and you have to post the differencing rectification. Whereas for one-sided error, one side will already have been posted, only one side would have been omitted to post. Here in this case, if you observe, this is the correct entry, whereas the accountant has posted the depreciation part correct, whereas the other part he has not posted. That's why if you see credit balance is 0, because debit 500 is coming, whereas this entry, because it has not been posted, it is coming as 0 here. So in order to immediately sort this out, you take help of a suspense account on the credit side 500 and match it. Later when you identify the difference, you have to reverse this suspense. So you will debit the suspense and then actually pass the entry for depreciation to furniture, which will go as credit. So then your TB will tally. Hope I have been clear in explaining this concept. So this is all about your rectification of entries related to one-sided error and two-sided error. So that is all the concept here friends. So apart from this, there is nothing else here to note down. Okay. And similarly, even in your suspense account, the same thing actually happens. So whatever I have told you now is the entries that actually come here. You know, you just refer it later when you get this PDF from our Telegram group description. Next is something called as adjusting entries and closing entries. So this we will cover it when we do the entire final accounts concept. You know, adjusting entries or closing entries are generally passed at the end of the year to all those entries which should have been posted in that year but not have been posted. For example, simple example, in March ending, you have to receive a lot of invoices, right? But you generally don't receive that invoice because this month invoice will be given in the next month only. But even though it is given in the next month, it is pertaining to this month, isn't it? So it pertains to this financial year. So we have to pass an adjustment entry in the March end. We have to find out the amount of that invoice and we have to post an entry without receiving the invoice. When we receive the actual invoice, we will adjust this entry which we have posted for the time being. So that is what called as adjusting entries, which is generally carried out only at the year end in order to ensure that all the entries pertaining to that year have been correctly inculcated in your profit and loss and balance sheet. We will cover this during the final accounts session. And closing entries is also same friends. At the year end, we just transfer all the entries, you know, from trading account, from profit and loss account, everything gets transferred to your final balance sheet in terms of profit or loss. So this concept today which I explained is very, very important for your exam, rectification of errors. Many people get confused between one-sided error and two-sided errors. So if you are still confused, please watch the video again and again. I have tried to make it as simple as possible, but still if you don't understand, I am always there for you for any kind of doubts. Please don't hesitate to ask doubts. And thank you for watching the video. We will cover some more interesting topic in our next lecture. And please do share this video among your friends and please do subscribe and share to our channel. Have a safe day and stay healthy and take care.